guy. He even admitted to the operator that it was a friend.
طلع ايه؟ فكرة بتمرة. ايوه يا حبيبي ايوه دمر الدنيا هون دمر الدنيا دمر الدنيا فرسلية نزل فرسلية فوق راسي يعني
Lo 냄새 고 띵띵띵. 오늘 내가 없으니까 내가 까먹지. 아, 까먹지 말해. 내가 호감 pis었지.
Yeah, and I find a real sweet thing. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to Real Deal Media's #1 late night show, World at War. I'm your late night host, Dean Ryan. And what a night we have for you, as we are now understanding the echoes and the winds of war have never howled so loud as they do right now here tonight. That's right. Tonight's episode is called The Last Days of Israel. The Last Days of Israel. And you might want to go ... Iran too, but that's just some developing information we are now gathering. We're going to be getting into a hell of a lot of things here tonight, and some of the most updated intel we are getting coming into the RDM newsrooms regarding World War III, as Israel is now really way above top secret, way past the Rubicon, and the war and the missiles, as you saw in the cold opening on behest of Iran, have really landed in southern Tel Aviv over there in Israel. Continue to fire at this very moment. We'll be talking about all the upcoming plans that Donald Trump is now enduring and sharing with the rest of the world. The very little and that we know, but we're going to share it with you. But we have a very special segment coming up shortly with our very own RDM EU insider Forsetti, where we spoke just moments ago, where we're going to be getting into the next shoe to drop here, what all the EU leaders are talking about in regards of Israel, talking about what is in store for Iran, what they really feel about Netanyahu and Israel as a whole, and how this thing is going to be shaped up into something that we may not like, we may not want, some of us may, but overall, this is what the elites are planning. We need to be prepared for it and maneuver accordingly to protect our own lives, our own safety, our prodigy, everything that we've worked hard for, and the poor people in the region who just are trying to live their own lives. So Forsetti is going to be getting into that. You're also going to be learning about just exactly who is the Trump administration in bed with in some of these think tanks, the Palantars, it just answers a whole host of different scenarios, timelines, financial resets, and the age-old question of blackmail. Yeah, you don't want to miss that. There's going to be a lot in the second half as well. And if you don't know who Forsetti is, he takes a risk to share this information with his effective audience all over the world. So you don't want to miss that. That's coming up very, very shortly. Also, we're going to get started here, but before we do, we are broadcasting live on the Real Dean Ryan over there on Facebook, on the travel page, as well as Dean Ryan TV on YouTube, as well as X, Rumble, and Brighteon. Yes, we're just pretty much everywhere these days, and people need to know the world is just on edge. And I got to be honest with you, and everybody knows the base of Donald Trump seems to be tanking faster than those bombs are dropping on Tel Aviv as we speak. It's a sad state of affairs, but this is the reality. And these are the last days of Israel, and you'll find out why that very statement is true, and it seems to be what's underway. Okay, so let's get started now. Let's just get right into it as well. We delve into World War III news. Let's get into it. World War III, look how explosive that is right there. Okay, well, here's some of the most updated things happening around the world as the G7 is underway over there in Canada. Yes, I can now tell you, as that is happening, Speaker Mike Johnson, yes, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, is now postponing his trip to Israel this weekend. And he was on the buddy system with Glenn Beck, I guess we're supposed to assume, is why is everybody going on the just holiday summer vacay to Tel Aviv? I don't understand, but let me tell you about this now. He's now postponing his trip to Israel this weekend when with a supposed address, he was speaking to the Knesset as the conflict between Israel and Iran escalates. Well, Johnson was scheduled to appear before the Knesset, the party behind Netanyahu, to put it in exact phrase, located over there in Jerusalem. Who's going to be there this coming Sunday, become the third ever Speaker of the House to address Israel's lawmaking body. But the Speaker is now delaying his plans after Israel launched what is called a preemptive strike in Iran just 24 hours ago, prompting a back and forth volley of missiles between the two countries. Due to the complex situation, he says, this is a quote, due to the complex situation currently unfolding in Iran, Israel, Speaker of Ohana and I have made the decision to postpone the special session of the Knesset. Johnson wrote on his statement over there on X, we look forward to rescheduling the address in the near future and send our prayers to the people of Israel and the Middle East. Here's a question, Mike Johnson, you big old pedo. The guy who, at 25 years old, adopts a 14-year-old Dominican Republican boy. Yeah, we talked about that last year or 2 years ago, and we'd gotten a bunch of S for it. Why the hell is the Speaker of the House of Congress, going around to different countries giving speeches, specifically this creepy country? Can anyone answer that for me? No, you can't. So he's now leaving. Also, we're also getting word there's now Americans in Tel Aviv who are leaving, and can't make this up. One of them being Bruce Jenner, a.k.a. Caitlyn Jenner, who's now made contact and shared with news stations that he is leaving the country as soon as possible with a slurry of just missiles falling everywhere. I said, what in the world is that person doing there? Apparently, Israel is the home of everything LGBTQ. Did you not know? Look at this. Why the Tel Aviv is the ultimate LGBTQ travel destination. So there's all kinds of people just leaving right now. Unbelievable. And why is this happening? We'll get to that. But here's what you don't know. You're going to hear a lot of, well, Iran should have given up their nuclear program, which they have. They didn't want to sign a deal, which they've been ready to sign a deal. In fact, we have the proof. Here's one of the leaders who's now dead saying as of 2 weeks ago, they're ready to sign a deal. But Netanyahu, the demon in disguise, didn't want that. Check this out.
We are ready. Shemhani is one of the few people in Iran authorized to speak about the sensitive negotiations.
We can definitely have better relations with the U.S.
Shemhani said that Iran is willing to commit to never having a nuclear weapon, to getting rid of its stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, to only enriching to a level needed for civilian use, and to allow inspectors in to oversee it all, in exchange for lifting all sanctions immediately. He said Iran would accept that deal tonight.
Yes, we are ready.
Why make a deal with the art of the deal when you're going to die? When your pimp Israel tells you to go along with World War III as we're now entering, what's the point? Continuing now. Well, what about Vladimir Putin, you might ask? Well, let me tell you about this now, as Trump and Putin to hold calls and discuss the Iran and Israeli tensions. That's absolutely correct. Trump and Russian Presidente Vladimir Putin held a 50-minute phone call just over the weekend to discuss the escalating situation in the Middle East and Ukraine peace talks. The White House and Kremlin confirmed. In a statement released by the White House, Trump said Putin called him on Saturday to wish me a happy birthday, but to more importantly talk about Iran, a country he knows very well, unquote. Continuing, we talked at length, less time was spent talking about Russia, Ukraine, but that will be for next week, he said. Approximately 1 hour the call lasted. He also claimed and stated he feels, as I do, the war in Iran and Israel should end, to which I explained his war should also end. Well, yeah, Zelensky should stop sending drones to attack and trying to assassinate Putin over there in Moscow in the Kremlin. Trump did not provide additional details about the call. Putin's foreign affairs advisor, Yuri Yushkinov, said during the conversation, Putin briefed Trump on his recent talks with the leaders of Iran and Israel and reiterated Russia's proposal to seek mutually acceptable solutions on the Iranian nuclear issue. Yes, and what happened to the old statement that everybody was saying after October 7th that Israel has the right to defend themselves? Well, what about Iran? Do they not have a right to defend themselves? And what the hell are we getting involved in this mess for? We didn't sign up for this. Nobody voted for this. The base of the MAGA people don't want this. This is something nobody wants. But then again, everyone was America first, but now Netanyahu is all over television now saying, what about America dead? Can you believe this? Check this out.
Tel Aviv, tomorrow it's New York. I understand America first. I don't understand America dead. That's what these people want. They chant death to America. So we're doing something that is in the service of mankind, of humanity, and it's a battle of good against evil. America should and does stand with the good. That's what President Trump is doing, and I deeply appreciate his support.
John Carl joins me now. So, John, what else did he say about President Trump and how he wants the U.S. to play a role here, or did he?
Well, look, he praised President Trump over and over again in this interview. He knows that he needs the United States support, at least in terms of doing what the U.S. is doing now, which is helping Israel defend itself from those retaliatory attacks from Iran. So it was all couched in a thank you, President Trump. You've been Israel's best friend, but he made it clear that he would like to see more. He didn't come out and directly say it in those ways, but what you heard, what you played right there, I understand America first. I don't understand America dead. He is really speaking to those in the Trump movement, those in the MAGA movement who are adamantly opposed to the United States getting involved in another Middle East conflict. And as you know, Kira, there are some prominent voices, supporters, outside advisors of Donald Trump who are saying, don't get involved. The United States can't be involved. You campaigned against forever wars. People like Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk. Those are, close supporters of Donald Trump who are saying that they don't think the United States should be involved in this. And Netanyahu, it seemed to me, by using their language, I understand America first, I don't understand America dead, was speaking directly to Donald Trump and to his supporters who are critical of what Israel is doing.
It's now more and more becoming America first for many of the MAGA people and MAGA dead at this point. It's now seemingly turning into that. We're also now getting word that 700 Marines have now been deployed, not to LA this time, but to Seal Beach, California, over there in Orange County. Is now word of a Russian Federation submarine is about 400 miles off the coast of California. 700 Marines. What are they anticipating? And were all those, what happened to all the toys that were supposed to be at display during the parade? Well, yes, but as Netanyahu says, we're just so close to getting to a bomb. A bomb is just moments away, years away. We've all seen it. And Israel is supposed to be our greatest friend. Well, according to the intelligence not that long ago, and I want to give credit to Mark Dice for finding this. Well, look at this. Who remembers this? Israel flagged as top spy threat to the United States in the Snowden NSA document. Yes, they were flagged as top spy threat. In fact, Epstein rolled out of his fake grave and said, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Unbelievable stuff. And the people that got us into the Iraqi war. Israel puts pressure on U.S. to strike Iraq. Now just change the Q to an N. And that little old article is now valid. Can you believe it? Okay, now let's now get into this now. In addition to that, I can tell you the G7 now being held in Canada is now underway. The summit just outside of Calgary, well, it has now come under some tensions between Israel and Iran, has now been the talk of the town, suffocating all the conversations in all the rooms. Well, now in the fourth day of the open conflict, they're saying a draft over there at the G7 statement on Iran has been floated, but Mr. Trump does not plan to sign the statement. No, one U.S. official said Trump will continue to work toward ensuring Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. How many times do we have to hear this fake old Iraqi argument that we heard in the run-up to Saddam Hussein? Well, the draft statement discusses monitoring Iran, calls for both sides to protect civilians, re-ups commitments to peace, according to the officials. This is psychotic. This is so psychotic, and it just pisses me off. Here's a little clip of it. In fact, they talk about some other things underway with Ukraine. This is Trump and Mark Carnage, the crime minister up there in Canada. This is cringe-worthy, but we're about to cringe here tonight.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days. And on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal. And it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war. And they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And what would you say, in your opinion, what would it take for the U.S. to get involved in this conflict militarily?
I don't want to talk about that.
And you mentioned Putin. Do you think that he should have a seat at the G7 today, that it should be the G8?
I'm not saying he should at this point, because too much water's gone over the dam, maybe. But it was a big mistake. Obama didn't want him, and the head of your country, the proud head of your country, didn't want him. This was a big mistake. You wouldn't have that war. You know, you have your enemy at the table. Even I don't even consider him, he wasn't really an enemy at that time. There was no concept. If I were president, this war would have never happened. But likewise, if he were a member of what was called the G8 at that time, it was always the G8, you wouldn't have a war right now.
What intelligence support are you providing Israel?
We've always supported Israel. We have for a long period of time, strongly. And Israel's doing very well right now.
Why not have China at the G8? Why not have China here, the biggest economy in the world, after the United States?
Well, it's not a bad idea. I don't mind that. If somebody wants to suggest China coming in, I think we suggest. But you want to have people that you can talk to. You know, they don't talk. Putin speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8, as I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be. He was very insulted, and I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau, who convinced one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out, and he's not a happy person about it. I can tell you that. He basically doesn't even speak to the people that throw him out. And I agree with him.
Go ahead.
Why do you want ICE to target Democratic inner cities? What's behind it?
I don't know what you're saying.
You did a post last night where you said you want ICE to really target Democratic.
Yeah, I want them to focus on the cities because the cities are where you really have what's called sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York. I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor, but the governor's probably the worst in the country, Pritzker. But I look at how that city has been overrun by criminals, and you know, New York and L.A. Look at L.A. L.A. Those people weren't from L.A. They weren't from California. Most of those people, many of those people, and yeah, that's a focus. Biden allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Of that, vast numbers of those people were murderers, killers, people from gangs, people from jails. They emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those people are in the cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president and his team, and then we actually have to start the meeting to address some of these big issues. So, alors, merci.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much. Out. Okay, guys. All right. You heard.
Now, it's said Trump immediately left the G7, as you saw there, and released the following statement. Let me read it to you. It says the following, quote, Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame and a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran, the capital of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, the Samson option is about to be used on Iran. This is a travesty. Everyone knows it. Nobody wants any part of this. And if we don't get into this war, you better believe Mossad is going to fake a false flag to get the United States into another war. Once again, one of the 7 countries that Wesley Clark talked about all those years ago. This is the final domino needed for a full new Greater Israel project. So we're going to talk about this now with our very own European Union insider, Forsetti. You're going to learn the next shoe to drop, what every elite is thinking, and who's waiting in the wings as the last days, indeed, of Israel are now upon us. Check this out. And let's talk some geopolitics as the world is turning We thought deals were being made across the globe, deals for peace, deals for civility, sanity, and a deal supposedly set to be made with Iran at behest of the U.S. and the Trump administration. And just as that was reportedly about to be signed this previous weekend, well, a preemptive strike seems to have taken place. Israel and Netanyahu on Iran, and all hell has broken loose. The Pandora's box of World War III is officially open. What do we know from your standpoint over there in the EU?
To put it in a quick rundown perspective, everyone doesn't know what to do. The situation is, if we send, obviously the EU and America would like to aid Israel because that's where their vested interest lies, and also where most of the politicians get paid from. The issue is, if they send any aid to Israel, that would mean Russia and China would then get involved, which is something we're trying hard to avoid. Because to try and paint a visual picture for you, right now, Russia, China, and that area of the world is the bear. With the reaction to the Ukraine war, the EU and America has been throwing stones at the bear from across the lake. Now the bear has got it in the lake and started swimming towards. Now, if we poke it with a stick, it's going to get pissed off and come at us, and we might not be ready for it. But if we just hold our distance and try not to piss it off anymore, it might calm down and back off.
Now, where is the standpoint? You've had a close look at the UK, Canada, in some countries of the West of the Five Eyes. Don't seem to be too keen on Israel. For instance, you have Canada, who is willing to abide by the international criminal courts to arrest Netanyahu and abide by the international arrest warrant to do so. So there's a lot of mixed signals, or is that just a ruse?
It's virtue signaling. They want to appeal to the left because they seem to think their voting bloc is the left. They want to appear on the left because all their election bibble babble and to distract people from the actual narrative, to call whoever brings up the actual narrative racist, misogynistic, every kind of this stuff over on the planet. So by aiding Israel or making it like they're supporting Israel, they're going to really, really piss off the people that they've been trying to appeal to, that they believe is voting them and propping them up in power.
Now, what's interesting is the Trump administration, which, no surprise, and there's not even a little bit of effort to cover it up with the fact that everyone in his administration, including himself, at least from the perception in public viewpoint and standpoint, is a hardened supporter of Israel. It appeared to everyone that Trump was going to make a peace deal with Iran, a huge trading deal, oil deal, you name it, with the Iranian government. Was that a ruse too from the European standpoint? What are the insiders saying about that? Or was he truly shocked and now he appears to be pissed off, saying that he does not want the Ayatollah assassinated, as now that's exactly what Netanyahu is trying to do? Where do the Europeans see that relationship?
I think Trump is trying to play the diplomat by not trying to take the total side of one side. But I think the deep down sentiment within the EU is that they hope both sides, Iran, Israel, Palestine, just destroy each other. They see it as a big problem and they just want it to go away. So they kind of got the fingers crossed that it's just mutual destruction and they both just go kaput.
Trump is kind of in a gridlock. He's kind of placed in a corner, is he not? Because on one hand, the money backers, gatekeepers, if you will, of the Oval Office truly hold the power of the purse. And on the other hand, overwhelmingly 80 to 90% of Americans do not want to go to war with Iran, and the support for Israel is tanking so fast. Where do you see, from everything you know over there, how does Trump get out of this?
I think he just has to wait for it to settle down and try and do what he does best, which is be a showman about how it settles down. The issue that he's kind of got is a lot of, well, we all know this, we've discussed this before, a lot of the American deep state, European deep state, all the deep states are all got assets belonging to Mossad in there. A lot of them are in the Epstein files. Elon Musk alluded to Trump being there as well recently. I don't know if you covered that. So it could just be, because we've said this before, there wasn't one Epstein, there wasn't one P. Diddy. There's hundreds of these guys with pedo islands and hotels of horrific things with shit on everyone. Every single politician who's got into high power, they have pictures of them doing something, or pictures of someone they care about doing something, or someone they back publicly doing something so they can't. So they kind of got their balls in a vice. That's the situation we're in. All the world leaders have their balls in the vice because Mossad have something on them.
Well, there you heard it. There you heard it from our insider. The powers that be around the world want mutual destruction. What does this play into? This plays into the Albert Pike prediction. Yes, there's a doomsday call to the very top that wants to literally depopulate the world, but also mutual destruction to bring in annihilism, get rid of the religions, get rid of all the atheism, and usher in some kind of demonic force. So you have that layer at the very top. Underneath that, you have we find them very annoying. We don't like both countries. We want them to mutually destroy each other. We'll sell missiles to Iran, as Obama and the Biden character did. On the other hand, we want Israel to be destroyed. We can't stand them, so we'll sell them missiles. Do we see how this works? This kind of warfare goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War, both sides funded, and Civil War. Over, on, and on. These are bankers' wars, and not much changes. So here's part two. We're going to get into part two now. This gets really wild. You're going to hear a bit more specifics on names and a resurgency of Tony Blair, who's a very, very important figure here. This is, if you don't know, former Prime Minister of the UK, Tony Blair, is an important instrumental figure that reshaped the entire European Union, the UK as we know it. And as he was doing it, he was wiping his feet on the Magna Carta. Can you believe it? So let's get to part two here with Forseti as we go a little deeper, a little more into the specifics of how this whole thing is going to shape out. And we're going to get to all of your comments, questions here afterwards, because where do we go from here? That's the biggest question. So here's part two of Forseti's last days of Israel. You don't want to miss this here. World leaders, in particular, for instance, the president of Argentina and his really unwavering love of the transgender clandestines. You've alluded in the past that a lot of these first ladies, i.e. Macron and his wife, Milei, over there in Argentina, seem to have been provided trannies. Can we say the Mossad's behind that too, or is that a Russian clandestine operation?
I think it's most likely that it is Mossad. Take Russia as well. They're going to have Mossad things in there. I can't remember the name of it, but it was in the early 2000s. This is before I got into this business, way before. I was still a teenager then. The issue was that there was some guy like Epstein working in Russia. They had a whole consortium of hotels in Russia, and he was like Mossad Epstein. So it's every country is going to have it at some capacity, because let's face it, politicians are just, for the most part, human. They're going to be easy to blackmail and manipulate. So as long as you've got that leverage, you own them. That's how you beat democracy. You just be the guy who pulls the strings above the democracy.
Very interesting. I want to ask you about Ukraine now. It seems to have been dying down, but EU, it seems to be on life support, and NATO especially. And every time the peace deal is either getting close to being signed or signed in this case, you have Zelensky, who's who's appearing like he is in control when he probably isn't.
He's
sending
also
drones into Moscow to provoke and continue the war. What is that situation now, all this time later since we last spoke? How's that now developing, and what's the best foot forward from your standpoint?
Zelensky is just protecting his own skin. He's going to get Saddam treatment after the war. Like, the propaganda is already ready to go, whereas Zelensky's doing war crimes. He was hiding it. We thought he was the good guy. We were backing him. We were giving him weapons. We didn't know he was doing these horrible, horrible, horrible things, prolonging the war and making money. The propaganda is ready to go. They started drip feeding it. So as soon as that war's over, the EU is just going to go, oh, look, Zelensky was a bad guy all along. We didn't know. So that's where it's heading, and that's what they're building up to. That war with Ukraine is coming to an end very, very soon. I can't say how soon because I don't know the time frame, but they're working towards the end of it, and the pre-propaganda that's going to go out, you're going to start seeing it coming out on like the smaller social medias like TikTok and so on, probably by the end of the year. I'm predicting, like, I would actually put money on it that the war will be over before January 2027.
It's interesting, the parallels of Ukraine and Israel and Gaza and now Iran are uncanny. It almost appears to us over here at Real Deal Media, and it appears to us that Israel, if they survive this, are going to say, well, it was just a bad administration with Netanyahu. Do you think it's going to go the way of Ukraine, Israel? Speaking of Ukraine, are they going to go that way, or are we looking at the last days of Israel as a country as we know it?
Taking from the strike on Israel that took out a couple of the buildings, Israel has the Iron Dome. We've spoken about this before. It's one of the most sophisticated ways of stopping missiles from hitting your population. Somehow it didn't work at the key time when all the cameras were there.
Yeah, it did not work. It's almost like someone left it open.
Yeah, something happened. It malfunctions. Just somehow it malfunctioned with all the cameras pointing at the place.
Glitch in the system. So you might be appearing to posture on the side, and some of your colleagues over there, that Israel could be a distant memory of the past, kind of like Bombay, India was. It could be just changing over hands and no longer a country. Do you see that? Is that a pipe dream, or is
my calculated guess / prediction based on all the information that I've been presented and speaking with people who know a lot more than I do, is that this is the long game. Israel's going to make it like they've had a big struggle to maintain Israel, and they're going to have a very, very close, with the finger wagging, victory and take over that entire region.
So they're going to take over Gaza. They're going to take over Iran as well?
Yes, I believe so. The Crown Prince of Iran, who's currently in exile, I think he's currently in England. I think that's where his main residence is. I can't remember. Someone's have to fact check me on that. I've not looked. Well, he's got a lot of ties with Israel, and a lot of the people in Iran and people who used to live in Iran want the Islamic regime to end and it return under the old Iranian royal family and be how Iran was in the 1970s and 60s. If you look throughout, you just look up Iran in the 1960s and 70s, it wasn't this similar to what America was like back then. The Islamists took it over and turned it into a sandy butthole. It's terrible now. They wanted to go back like that, and I think the plan is that they're going to reinstate him as a sort of head of state, but it's going to be like some kind of, I'm just using this as a term, like a United States kind of thing of the Middle East. It's going to be Israel, some kind of pseudo Iran micro-state that's part of the Israel. You see what I'm getting at?
Right. They want to reinstall the Shah. The CIA and MI5 with Mossad wants to reinstall the Shah once again.
Yes.
Which, every time these wars don't seem to result in the objectives of the CIA dream board, for that fact. But I want to switch gears real quick. Just this past week, the United States has really faced an onslaught of a totally manufactured protest of the No Kings protests in light of the immigration policies now coming out into play. Well, when we look at the UK and we look at that immigration, it's very, very, very confusing, and it almost seems like it's inevitable that, the new Islamic regime is truly in UK. But you did mention to me that the trash pickup, the trash collectors in places like Birmingham, I believe it was, or Burnage, you can correct me.
Birmingham, yes.
Yeah, Birmingham, were kind of the Trojan horse of the British government to start their deportation process under the guise of trash pickup, because if people don't know, so these places where there just happens to be Islamic refugees or Islamic migrants literally look like third world barbecue joints. You can't walk anywhere, no-go zones. Is that still underway? What's the update, and what do we know on that currently?
Well, I think it was yesterday, the British government finally caved to public pressure and started doing the grooming gang inquiry, an actual proper public one. And I think that's going to coincide with that. I think they know the writing's on the wall. And I think they know if they have a large Islamic presence in the UK. And if we start aiding Israel, which I think we're probably pointing towards, because, you know, Keir Starmer, his wife, is very well connected with Israel. He has a Jewish wife, Jewish children. That's the way that's going to go. And having a lot of Muslims who hate Jews, hate Israel, that's going to be a very unfortunate civilian army that mass imported.
Wow, that's shocking. Not what you just said, but that the fact that Starmer has a wife, that's pretty shocking. I would have never guessed.
No, I'm pretty shocked as well. She was all over the election propaganda, then she just disappeared. And now we're finding out that there's loads of Ukrainian rent boys keep setting fire old property that he used to have before he was the prime minister.
Speaking of that, you know, someone who's crawled out of a coffin once again to really shock the world with his presence is good old Tony Blair, who seems to be striving and thriving and foaming at the mouth to retain power once again. What is his objective now? Is it really to become the head of the EU or take over the WEF?
So we like to call Tony Blair the Dark Lord. And the Tony Blair Institute is currently the think tank that recommends government policy to every major political party in the Western Hemisphere right now. Even the Trump administration has people in there, or in there, who are taking payment or taking advice from the Tony Blair Institute. It's every government has them. The current government of the country I'm currently living in has people from the Tony Blair Institute. I think the Tony Blair Institute and the World Economic Forum are the same entity. They're just going by different names to make it seem like there's some form of competition when it's not. Because you have to remember, competition when it comes to governments and comes to organizations above the government is just an illusion. It's just a plan.
Kind of in a sunset module here. I want to ask you about Prince Charles now, or King Charles, excuse me. King Charles, who seems to be working in tangent with the Trump administration, and you know, in wake of the Canadian election or whatever the hell that was, they seem to be going even more communistic than they did prior. Is it crazy to think that King Charles can shut down for instance, the Canadian Parliament or the Australian Parliament to literally gut it out, clean it out, or at least stop the process? Does he still retain that power? Where do we see King Charles today, and what kind of power, if any, does he have? Because he's now telling Starmer over there in the UK that this is not how traditional England is supposed to be ruled.
I think it's just smoke and mirrors. He's going to be talking at the Bilderberg meeting like pretty soon. So as people from the Institute, World Economic Forum, like a lot of people, the Bilderberg meeting's happening very, very soon. Like I think it's happening next week. It's been moved up because of the tensions in the Middle East. He's going to be speaking there. We already know he's going to be a guest of honor.
Okay, going forward, we have a social credit score coming here to the U.S. Certainly, you've seen it over there in the eastern parts of Europe, and currently where you are, modeled after China. They're trying to get the Palantir fellows to run the entire gulags of the virtual world here. Just how scared should Americans be, since you're living through it now, and what can we do to fight it?
Well, what's going to happen is, thanks to AI and carbon capture technology that's coming up very, very soon. Most people know about this. So the reason why you have currency is because there's scarcity in items and products. You have to pay for goods and services, and it's supposed to be based on the value of the good and the value of the service. That's what it's there to represent, because nobody wants to carry 12 chickens to pay their phone bill. That's why we have money, why we have currency. Well, with the advancing in AI, carbon capture technology with 3D printing, that's going to be a big issue very, very soon, because when anybody can print what they want at home for no cost, for free, it's going to really, really hurt the economy. So what they're looking into is a sort of credit system. So I think the social credit score is what the governments are leaning towards, because it gives them control, gives them power. So I think it's very, very likely within the next 10 years at most, unless something drastic happens, that we're going to have a social credit system in every country, because, first of all, the current economic system is going to collapse entirely, just as it stands right now. That's going to happen. It's just counting the days. We still haven't recovered from the 2008 financial crash, and it's just going to get worse.
So we don't have a time date on the big crash. Do we have a ballpark figure?
Anytime between now and the next 10, and within the next 10 years. We don't know exact because markets that volatile. I know things like Bitcoin kind of slowed that down a bit because that became a competitor to the social credit system because it's not centralized. However, with quantum computing, the whole cryptocurrency thing isn't going to work out because quantum computing means passwords aren't going to mean anything. The passwords using your computer, your smartphone, your fingerprint, not going to mean anything because to a quantum computer that can bypass that in a blink of an eye. So currencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the crypto stuff, that's just going to mean nothing because the AI from quantum computing is going to figure out how to mine a Bitcoin every second. So that's going to hit hyperinflation very, very quickly. That's going to be worthless. So I think the next economic downfall, crash, and then they're going to bring in is going to happen around the time the quantum computing thing becomes a thing. We're already planning for that in Europe right now. We're putting steps in place. So that's going to happen very, very soon within the next 10 years, unless something else that's a competitor to the social credit system is going to come in, which I think the governments don't particularly want a competitor. They like the social credit system.
So you're pretty much saying that real deal gold is the way to go. I couldn't agree more. I think gold is
smooth, very, very smooth.
Any final words you want to tell this worldwide audience about what's to come, what to prepare for as the next shoe is about to drop, and we just don't know when or what that is exactly? Final thoughts.
The protests you're seeing right now, they're all funded by George Soros. We know that, and there's works in Europe to get his organization classed as a terrorist organization, but I don't know how far down the pipeline that's going. But that's going to happen very, very soon. But the guy's being kept alive by adrenochrome, so he's probably going to die anytime soon also.
Wow. You heard it here first, everybody. Forseti has been the great Karnak for the past 5 years, along with myself. So thank you very much, Forseti, and I hope to see you soon when I make my way to Europe and we toast in a brave new world before it gets dystopic.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Well, there you have it, everybody. There you have it. We want to thank Forseti for that, going on a limb every time he speaks to us. Okay, we're going to get to, we're going to speak about everything we just heard about. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to go through the live chats because there's so much updated news. Who can ever keep up, truly? So hold your hats. You're watching World at War, the #1 shadow ban show in the world. We'll be back after this quick message. Jim, you want to change your vote? You can still do it at this time.
No, I want to say we have a wonderful pizza place here called Sugar River Pizza, and they've got specialty pizzas that are to die for. I want to mention two in particular. One called ricotta, be kidding me, red sauce, pepperoni, sausage, whipped herb, ricotta, and oregano, and kicking horse for a war. Red sauce, pepperoni, sausage, jalapenos, red onion, pepper jack. Those are two unbelievably good pizzas.
Okay, we are back. That was a really quick break. Welcome back, everybody. I am still Dean Ryan, your cruise director, cruising with you to midnight and beyond. Let's talk about what we heard right before the break there with Forseti, who's deeply embedded inside the European Union and has been calling the balls and strikes now for 5 years on the money. Well, the last thing, if we backtrack a little bit, you heard about George Soros, who's living off a healthy diet regimen of adrenochrome and everything that comes with that. And he looks more dead than Keith Richards, but somehow he is going to be classified, him and his organization, as a terrorist organization. Terrorist organization. His son, who's running it, I believe his name is Alex, who just got married to Uber Hamadine. Yeah, we heard that. There's one takeaway. We heard Tony Blair, who's running the Tony Blair Institute, which is literally just a mirror image of the WEF. It's one of those stealth organizations that is flying under the radar, but deeply involved with every major player on the world stage, as he's going to be the new Klaus Schwab. And he's a big old Dracula blood drinker, if you know his past there too. There's the other takeaway. And then the big takeaway is what lies ahead for Israel and Iran. Well, it looks like Israel is going to lose the title of their country. They won't be nuked per se. They won't. They'll remain kind of a region. They might call it something else now. That's one takeaway. But Iran is the big one. Iran is, which was ran by the Shah from 1953, installed by the CIA into 1979 when the so-called Islamic Revolution took place, where George Herbert Walker Bush gave a bunch of firearms to them, which then started the Iran-Contra. Who recalls that one? But yeah, he's been living, the royal family, the former royal family of Iran has been living in exile in England ever since 1979. Well, the son of the Shah is ready to take the throne back. You know that the West want to install him. You know, Trump probably wants to install them. And certainly Benjamin Netanyahu, who is hiding in Greece currently with Tom Hanks and all the rest of them, they want that to happen. That's a big takeaway. And as we said that, as Trump immediately, abruptly left the G7, well, he released this statement of Iran should have signed the deal, but it's what's at the bottom that counts. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. I want to go on record that Americans as a whole don't want this. We are tired of war. We're tired of being used for war. And quite frankly, why are we still paying taxes? Why do we pay taxes in this country? On top of that, they just found a 4.7 trillion black hole through Doge of just all this money going into God knows where. We don't even know. This is fake money. We are literally living in a candy land modeled after hell, which is using the old practice and standards of the monopoly fake money deal. And we're now gliding into war, World War III, at behest of Israel. Somebody tell me what kind of just twisted nightmare we're living in. And that's why we're going to go through some of the live chats here and try to make sense of this, because I'm lost for words. I truly am. Let's talk about it. We have over there on Rumble, we have Soros by LA Rockstar Says. Yeah, Soros, can you believe it? Quite frankly, I think he's dead. And if he's not, he's being propped up in some kind of hygienic freezer next to the rest of the Omaha Steaks over there. But that guy is totally dead as far as I'm concerned, and people are running his organization. We have Kim over there in San Diego saying Walmart errors involved. Yes, that's true. Walmart errors. It's the people you least expect, isn't it? Unbelievable. And Seth Black says Chrissy Walton. And who would have ever thought one of the Waltons would be turning on us like this? A very wholesome family like that. I can't believe it. Continuing here, we have a lot of people who are just pouring in all over the place. We have Rita Waltz saying, Dean, you're one of the few speaking truth. Yeah, if you can hear me speaking and find me, yeah, that's we try. I have to live with myself. I have to sleep at night. I can't be bought and sold. But I plan on lasting the test of time here. Well, at least I'll die trying. Do my best. All right, here we have another one. We have the great Seth Black saying the following: have found out today that No Kings protest was put together by the Teachers Union President Amy Weingarten. Good, fine, Seth. Yeah, the LA Unified School District is the biggest school district in the country. Highly corrupt, highly inefficient, and just highly probably high too. All these people are they're all on big pharma pills. But yeah, that's we're going to find out a whole lot more. When you come back to the domestics, the IRS has now been sickened to investigate and follow the money where all of these transactions and NGOs in the LA riots that just took place. Where did this all stem from? Who's behind it? Who are the hidden hands? Who are the people wearing the one glove? We want to know. Good point. Thank you, Seth. Here is another one. And yeah, Fox News is going to be cheerleading a war too. Yeah, Fox News can shove it up their foxhole. That's how I feel about it. We have Nigel Dyer over there in England says QFS is taking over Nigeria. Yeah, you got to be careful of QFS. You get a lot of those just fake profiles on the Facebooks that say sign up to QFS. I'm not signing up to jack squat because I'm not buying into this. The only tangible thing in this world is exactly what Ron Paul told us about was gold and silver. I tell you to get Real Deal Gold, but we don't have our link set up just yet as we have a new website. And I'm kicking myself in the derriere because of that. But thank you, Nigel. And it appears that King Sausage Fingers is, he's another dead guy. We're talking about dead people. We have Carolyn Shepard said Soros was executed. Yeah, it's just who's running his estate now. That's what we're trying to find out. Aussie Girl says, Dean, it is a twisted nightmare. Yeah, I've had nightmares that are better than this. But yes, it is. It's in that realm at this point. Seth Black says, Dean doesn't sleep. You're right, Seth. I don't sleep. I wait. Here we have Mr. Watland over there on Rumble. Thank you, Mr. Watland, for being here. He says Alan Greenspan was Rothschild banker. Was or is? Did he die too? I don't know. Please tell me. But thank you for that. We have Angelina Wolf who said Minnesota murders, 2 no kings. Okay. Oh, thank you for reminding me of that. Here's some intel on that. Well, now they have found the shooters. See, there's so much I can't even put it all into my notepads. But the 2 shooters who killed these senators over there in Minnesota, they found them. But clearly they're patsies. They're blaming InfoWars as the inspiration behind the shooting. So the fix is in when you read that. They found the passports and everything. He's a patsy. And now, evidently, because of that, you're not going to hear this anywhere else. Evidently, because of that, they found him, the gentleman, because of that, the minerals deal that was on the table for the country of Congo in the United States is now dead and killed because apparently the patsy was part of the Congo ministry series as he was going around the country preaching the word of God. And because of that association, all deals are off the table now with the Congo. And that was something I was involved in just ever so slightly, and that that fell off. Just I can't catch a break either. Here we have another one. We have Rebel Man was saying she sucked the lucky pole, as they say. I'll leave that to the imagination. Even that's dangerous. We have Aussie Girl saying we need to shut them all down. Seth Black says, yeah, okay, Telegram is dead. We have a Telegram. I don't know if anybody's been noticing Telegram numbers are dwindling fast. Everybody seems to be going to X. But if you are on Telegram, we are still there. And I see the numbers just dwindle. I see accounts that haven't been used in months, if not years. So I'm weighing what I should do with Telegram myself. It takes up a lot of memory on my devices. But hey, what can I do? And finally, we have Nigel Dean's Truth Forth. Thank you, Nigel. Something Girl says Trump mentions Congo all the time. He does, but behind the scenes, his people, Marco Rubio has a lot to answer for. He's shielding a huge pedo who's still a part of our embassy in the Congo. That was literally this is where they get the adrenochrome. Africa, Ukraine, but mainly Africa and Haiti. And the big pedo, which we're finding out, all of the pedophiles and all of the trafficking was issued and rolled out across the world under the guise of LGBTQ and all that rainbow stuff. And that's how they're shielding from criticism or any oversight, because you don't want to be branded as some sort of, modern day bigot. But That was under the Biden. So no investigation could happen. Now to now investigate under this new administration, that gentleman is still in power, and they're using fake names in these embassies, some of the heads of it. You understand? They're using fake names, and to look further into it, he's being shielded by little Marco Rubio. And it just pissed me off. And we were trying to work on this deal to get everything moving, and it just now, the word is behind the scenes, it's going to be cut down, and it's not going to happen because there's now revolution in Congo. And who's funding it? All the cobalt mines from Rwanda. You're going to hear about Elon Musk, who's now funding that with China. Does he know? And how did Elon get his black eye? You might remember that. I'll tell you how that happened. You're not going to hear. Maybe you might hear this somewhere else. I don't know when, but here's the truth about that. That day that he received the city to the key and all that stuff. What was that, last week? I can't even believe it. There was a huge fist fight in the Oval Office between Elon Musk and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And it started in the Oval Office after all the cameras were gone, and it continued into the other rooms, and Elon got a huge shiner with the right hook. I don't know what damage the other guy had, but these are the things. It's not always what you think it is. It's not always what you want it to be. It's somewhere in the middle. But Elon's pretty much right on the money that there needs to be a healthy third party in this country. And you know what really sucks? To be intellectually honest and have intellectual dissent from what the party in power is, you can't just run to the opposition party, which is the Democrats, because the arguments are like the arguments of just second graders. So there is no true opposition party in the United States outside of the Libertarian Party, which has been overran at the very top on the national level by a bunch of infiltrators. That's the truth, and it hurts. But thank you for that. Okay, we have an Oval Office fist fight, and that's why they don't want to talk about it. We have Belladonna saying, Belinda, thank you for being here. Can't stand using Telegram. Yeah, it's not my favorite either, but hey, what can I say? And finally, we have, did Trump referee? That would have been something. I don't know. He might have been involved too. Who knows? Somebody should go find Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, to see if he has any photos of just how damaged he got too. We need a real opposition party in this country. You know, you go to the ice cream shop, you got over 31 flavors of different frozen yogurts and ice cream. In this country, you got two parties, both in cahoots, both in bed together, and both the streetwalkers, the hookers of their pimp called Israel. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And you have Glenn Beck, who looks like the head pig from Animal Farm, saying, "Oh, please give me dual citizenship," which I don't know how that story came around again. That's an old story, but yes. Then you have Mike Johnson, who was 25 years old, adopting a 14-year-old boy from Dominican Republic to be his dad. And here's another thing that Forsetti left out too. This is coming out of Eastern Europe, and it's going to make a wave across Europe and hopefully here soon. Gay adoption's on its way out. A lot of people are figuring out it's just a bunch. It's, you know, there might be some good intentioned people that are couples or whatever, but that leaves the door wide open for the wicked to come in and just sexually assault whoever they adopt. Two guys always getting, you know, a bunch of sons. You know, ask Anderson Cooper, he'll tell you. Rebel Mammoth, thank you. My brain is fried, scrambled, and hard-boiled. Mine is eggs Benedict. I'm benedicted. Carolyn Shepard says, "Who's behind the curtain, number one?" Yeah, well, it's the emperor who still has his clothes on at this moment. We can't do anything about it. So that's how that one is. Okay, we're going to get out of here. Tomorrow night, I will be back with the great Jim Fencer. We're going to get into more of the updated, you know, who knows what this world is. I can't even tell you what we're going to get into, because we are now in DEFCON 1. We have 700 Marines. in an area, by the way, where I was doing shows from another studio. Exactly 700 Marines are there right now. And imagine what that entails. Checkpoints, arrest, suspicions, no due process. Military is in charge. Military is the only way. Everything you might hear on Telegram. Yeah, all the forecasters of how this is going to go, of, add the numbers here, put it there. Please take your cryptic carrots and shove it up your cryptic backside. Claudine, it is a mad world, and Tears for Fears tried to tell us. We never listened. Okay, on that note, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to go to the slaughterhouse and start punching the meats and get ready for war. We're in war now. We have a ship now over there by the Iranian seas. We have the Strait of Hormuz that is closed. Yeah, oil is going to go up. Tempers are going to flare, and favorability polls are going to tank. Yeah, things are going to tank, but we have to remain steadfast. We know our integrity is not being questioned. We know our mission statement isn't changed, because if freedom is the answer, what is the question? So on that note, I want to thank Forsetti, who is putting his neck on the line for this incredible, effective audience all over the world, because we do have the best audience. Not everyone is of the same belief, but that's okay, because we all want to be free and we all want to be together and get to the promised land. And that's what it's all about. So for Forsetti and for the rest of us here at Real Deal Media, I'm Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your night, as this is a world at war. Until the meantime, always remember to stay tuned and stay awake.